I'm having my cup of coffee because it's a bit cool this day in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. What about you? Are you having coffee? Are you having tea? Are you having a beverage? Or are you preparing and getting ready to eat breakfast? It is possible for you to do so because a group of people have worked relentlessly to plant and they have harvested, and those crops, food and fiber, have reached markets where many of us have gone to purchase food and fiber, and now we can prepare them for different meals for our families to savor and enjoy. I'm talking about the farmer, and it gets to the point where you know we're relating this to agriculture. Agriculture is the planting of food and fiber on the world's waters and lands. And a group of people who do that every year in, year out, to ensure that we eat and that we stay healthy. They literally reap what they sow so we can be the better for it. So we thought, who are these people? What are they experiencing? Why are they doing this? We call them farmers, don't we? Why are they doing this? What do they get from it? Are there challenges? As we're discussing this, we now thought about that they are working hard so we can put food on our table. Hence our topic today, agriculture, from farm to table. Welcome to Weekend Deal. Keep our company today. You eat on the regular. You have breakfast, you have lunch, you also have dinner. You enjoy with your family. Sometimes you have a bountiful feast where you're celebrating and then you invite other friends and members of your extended family to come and enjoy with you. So you should be a part of our discussion today. My name is Thelma Obazo. We expect to hear from you because Weekend Deal is interactive. Our background feature is ready as always. We're talking about farming. First, we do hear it began as a culture where a man had a farm and his wife and his children supported him on the farm. But in these days, we all know that agriculture, farming is big business. Francis, take it from here, please.
Nigeria, a nation of breathtaking landscapes and vibrant cultures. Its agricultural heritage is a testament to the profound connection between the people and the land. From the sprawling savannas of the north to the lush forest of the south, this land has nurtured generations with its bountiful harvests. The evolution of agriculture in Nigeria reflects the country's journey from traditional subsistence farming to a more commercial and technology-driven sector.
After the creation of man, brought about this institution called farming and agriculture. And then because it was a culture, everybody embraced it and it became part of our life. So we grow up, you see your father or your mother either having a garden behind the house or having a farm that you go there to assist him or her. So it becomes part of our daily routine and our culture. But as the day goes by and it becomes agribusiness, it's no longer a culture now, it is now a business. People started venturing into it and they begin to earn a living out of it and begin to create wealth out of it. Nigerian government over the years have done so many things to bring about agricultural revolution, standing for Operation Feed the Nation and what have you, up to the incorporation of last administration of General Muhammadu Buhari and the current administration of President Tinubu, who has also declared emergency on food.
Nigeria's abundance of arable land is indeed a valuable resource, but the country has faced challenges in fully utilizing this potential.
The lands are there, but the accessibility of this land is a major problem. The ownership of the land belongs to the government. And most times, these lands, you cannot access them. And for most times, even when you apply, it's not readily available. Even if they want to give you, it will be a thick forest. And many farmers have money to arrange bulldozer to clear a virgin land and cultivate. It will take you between 6 to 7 months to do proper clearing, evacuate the trees, the shrubs, and then before you move in a tractor. So how if a farmer wants to do 1 hectare of, for instance, maize or cassava, and his cost of production is just about 400,000, I need about 1 million naira to clear the 1 hectare. Where will you get the money? If you do that, how can you break even?
The hunger.
Although the agriculture sector holds the most employment opportunities for Nigerians, the sector does not hold the wealth game changer capacity that most Nigerians desperately need.
No Nigerian farmer, no smallholder farmer, even a big-time farmer, smiles to the bank. One, if you want to take a loan from the bank, the interest rate is high. You can't break even. How can a farmer collect a loan and paying 25 to 27 to 8% interest within 1 year? How can you break even? A farmer who is taking, for instance, the government intervention loans, like Uncle Brothers loan, they are giving you loan for 5 months, 6 months, 1 year to pay back.
While Nigeria's agricultural sector is on the path of revival, it still faces numerous challenges. However, there are promising opportunities in export market and the engagement of the country's youth. These opportunities can reinvigorate the sector and stimulate economic growth.
Some of them are ICT. You must not farm. Use your laptop to do the farming. Some are already taking around food processing, how to produce fish, feed for the fish. So you must not be a fish farmer. So among the 75 of them now, some will be extracting oil. Their oil is to extract oil. Some will be extracting the bones and making them into powder. Some of them, their own is just to do ICT, marketing online, snapping these pictures from when it's a juvenile to when it's matured to table size. They will be taking the pictures on daily basis and they will be advertising it. The young ladies and the boys among them, we're already training them. Some are going to be photographers, especially for fish.
The journey from the farm to the table is not just about sustenance, it's a celebration of Nigerian life and traditions. Therefore, as Nigeria looks to the future, there is a growing focus on sustainable agricultural practices.
Accessibility of food. Can Nigerians access food? Availability of this food. Is this food available? Is Nigerian food secure? How many reserves do you have?
As Nigeria continues to address its agricultural challenges and embrace its opportunities, it holds the promise of both sustenance and prosperity for its people. Therefore, Weekend Deal today is captioned Agriculture from Farm to Table.
In-depth and very detailed. Now you get to know what we're up about today on the show. Get your messages coming in. Let's interact. Let's talk about this. Agriculture, Nigeria, our growth, our development. I told you earlier that Professor John Kennedy Opara is here. Let's hear a bit about his profile. We definitely welcome Professor John Kennedy Opara to Weekend Deal. It's great to have you with us on the program today.
Thank you very much, Thelma.
It's amazing. When I was reading about your profile, I was seeing things, leadership, management, PhD, professor, and they were talking about farming. You know, did you go to school to the extent that you have so that you can properly manage a farm and feed Nigeria and export?
Thank you. Actually, my first degree, microbiology, Master's Microbiology, PhD Microbiology.
Okay.
I entered into farming as a result of passion.
Okay.
I took the president of Nigeria when I was in charge of Nigerian Christian Praying Commission to the state of Israel with 14 governors and 4 deputies. And when we were received by the Israeli Prime Minister, the first statement he made was that the food Israel will eat in 15 years, they already have. I'm sure everybody was excited, including the president. And then after the meeting, I went to him and said, Prime Minister, I want to ask a question. How can you explain to me you have food for 15 years? He said, Israel have conquered food scarcity through mechanized farming.
Interesting.
From the land to the table.
Wow.
And that really got me thinking. Israel is a nation of 23,000 square kilometers of land. Nigeria will have almost 38 million hectares of land. And Israel is exporting billions of dollars worth of agricultural products. And then what are we doing? So that really put me on the spot. So while I was in government, I wrote a memo to the president who approved. We were able to exchange ideas and knowledge with the Israeli agricultural technology team in Israel. So the youths I was taking from Nigeria were being trained in agriculture in Israel. So when I left government, I saw a window and a base because agriculture contributes about 28 to 29% of our GDP. And so
you delved in.
Yeah, I had to move in.
You delved in with excitement and enthusiasm.
Exactly,
but based on what you heard from the Israeli Prime Minister some years ago and what you're doing today, mechanized farming, how close are we to what you heard at that time? They have food for 15 years. Is Nigeria there now? We have food for 10 years, 5 years?
Yeah. Honestly speaking, it's a journey. I was trying to look at the report by International Labour Organization. In 2019, they said that our interest in agriculture dropped from 50% in 2000 to 34.9%. But now everything is changing. Today, with the training we are doing, collaboration we are running with the state government, I think the whole thing is changing. Now, I'll give you a scenario. Rice, for instance. Nigeria is the highest producer of rice paddy in Africa. We are doing more than 12 million metric tons. And Nigeria is the highest consumer of rice in Africa. Nigeria is also the highest importer of the rice in Africa. Now, compare Nigeria and China. China is the world's largest producer of rice paddy in the world. Today, China is producing 147 million metric tons. 147 million metric tons. But it's not enough to cater for the population of China. So what do? They import almost 5 million metric tons. We are still importing, but the difference between Nigeria and China is that China is increasing in productivity, and then they are able to push more, while we are challenged here by insecurity and so many things. So many people are not unable to go to the farm.
If your house, your compound is not full of cement, there's a lot you can do. And even when it's cemented, your walls can be very, very useful for you. What will interest many Nigerians is your engagement with young people. So far, you say you've trained over 7,000 young Nigerians. So what are they doing now? When you train them, what happens? Do you monitor what they do? What did they get the seed capital?
Thank you very much. My idea is simple, or the vision. The vision is to be able to make each state to have young, dynamic people trained in the area of agriculture, and each state coming up with their own food reserve center. For example, I train your state in the area where you have competence. For example, it's okay, maize. If you were looking for maize, you say, why don't you go to Kaduna? If you are looking for yam, why don't you go to a place like Ebonyi, Enugu? We have trained different states. Yesterday, the governor of Nasarawa was in a farm where we trained the first class graduates from the University of Nasarawa State. And
how many were they? Were there women there?
Yes, there were women and men, and then they were all there, and he empowered them. And now the beauty of it is that after our training, the children, they said to him during the graduation, we never knew it is possible for us to live here and become wealth creators. We don't train you to go and look for job. We train you to create jobs. We train you to help. Look, in your house, the system is such that after training you, you can start the family business. For example, fish. Nigeria as a nation consumes about 4.5 million metric tons of fish. And we are producing less than 1 million. Yeah, annually. And we are producing less than 1.5 million metric tons of fish, to the point that we're importing fish from Norway and some countries. There are lifestyles we must let go to let our business move.
Let's face the reality on ground. We will talk about loans, because I know that we've been hearing about loans for farmers and all of that, for agribusiness and agripreneurs for quite a while.
Yeah.
And the reality on ground is not telling us how well utilized these monies have been. We'll talk about that in the course of this conversation, because when we go to NTA Abuja today, they will bring up the topic of loans. But before we go to NTA Abuja, let me just ask you this. Mechanized farming is what I've been hearing with relation to what you're doing. What does that entail, mechanized farming? Is it different from the hoe and the cutlass and the digging manually?
Yes, it's quite different. And as a matter of fact, there's no way you can feed a nation like Nigeria with the normal farming, manual farming. It's impossible. We have chains of tractors.
So there's no hoe on your farm?
No, we use tractors now, because you're dealing with thousands of hectares of land. If you have to clear it, a tractor can do more than 10 to 20 hectares of land. Tell me what you want it to do, whether it's plowing, harrowing, or whatever. Then if you're going to send farmers to go and cultivate 1,000 hectares, it takes them forever. So the machine can plant and do this in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, and then you're good to go. So agriculture have graduated from the normal local way of doing things. In those days, my mother used to take us to the farm. We can all carry this, and then we cut maybe a plot or two, and you go home. But we are talking about feeding the whole nation, feeding the people, and then we have to go.
Good thing you're talking about modern equipment. Because when we go to Sokoto right now, there's talk about modern equipment to take advantage of the benefits of agribusiness, so that agripreneurs can make the best of it. Sokoto, we are with you. Let's go there.
Farming is a lifelong agricultural practice. Since time immemorial, it was regarded as tedious and annual yielding agricultural practice. During the 16th century, new methods surfaces to give maximum yield in farmers practicing rotational crop system.
So farming has become an issue, and I think it will take a lot of effort to bring interest to the younger generation in farming, let alone the drudgery that is involved, because the high technology that's available using the drone systems, artificial intelligence that are available elsewhere are not available in Nigeria or cannot be afforded by farmers in Nigeria. Elsewhere, you can use drone to apply fertilizers, to determine when to harvest your crops, what to apply, water, and the rest. But here you have to do it physically with involving drudgery. So it will take a lot of time for these situations to be overcome.
Farming and farm machineries have evolved greatly over the years. The use of threshing machines, planter, and harvester has debunked the narrative of a tedious farming system.
When we talk of peripheral farming, that is outside the opening of a new land, we talk of tillage operation, which involves majorly tractor equipment. So if you're talking of opening of new land, that is where large as moving equipment will be involved to cut trees, to clear the land at various degrees of slopes, so that to attend to the need of the particular crop in question.
You have to inform the farmers about the modern techniques of farming, about modern aspects that the farmers will undergo to increase their productivity. Use of improved varieties. We have a lot of new improved varieties that can beat the local varieties hands down. The improved variety that is tolerable to drought, resistant to pests and diseases, and mature quickly, much more than the local variety. And above all, the yield.
Food can be provided on every family's table if the modern equipment are easily accessible and affordable by farmers. Everyone will love to go into farming.
But with time, little equipment are coming in that they can till the soil with, but even at that, it's not readily available to the ordinary farmer. So the government has a lot to do if you want to encourage the farmers by making things readily available to the farmers. They need to really map out how to get directly to the farmers.
Sokoto is so blessed with many agricultural produce to make food available and for export purposes. Let us embrace the technological change needed in farming to get this done. Our country, Nigeria, will be great.
Indeed, great to listen to Sokoto there. Those tractors just, made that package so rich, yes. And it's complementing what Professor Opara was saying here about mechanized farming, that if we do it the manual way, it's unlikely we will get to where we want to get to. So we need to start to complement and eventually reduce to the barest minimum manual way of farming, because now we're not farmers anymore, we're agribusiness owners. Yeah. Interesting, especially as you continue to train more young people to get engaged in farming. Over time, we've heard about fertilizer, some say, farmers and access to, or agribusiness owners and access to fertilizer. It has often been a challenge for them. Where are we at this point? Is it easier to access fertilizer now?
It's not easy and it's not cheap. And that makes it a bit difficult for farmers to be able to really do what they want to do. For me, or for CSS Integrated Farms, we use the manure we get from our poultry. We channel it to the soil to serve as our manure. That's why most of the things we grow or do is organic. The water from our fish is also diverted to fertilize, irrigate.
Mina is going to be a part of this conversation at this time. Can we go to Mina to see what our colleagues there captured for us to enjoy and learn from?
In these financially challenging times, many Nigerians are embracing the concept of farm to table, finding innovative ways to utilize small spaces for farming with the potential to stretch funds and develop new income streams. Small-scale farming is becoming a beacon of hope. Join us on a journey to discover the power of urban farming and how it is transforming lives.
While I was growing up, I discovered that we used to have what we call backyard farming, home garden. Unfortunately today, that is lacking. Unfortunately today, no more gardens again. The flower beds have taken its position, the flower gardens have taken its position. Yet our hard-earned money ends up in the market to buy expensive soup ingredients, which at the end of the day, what you earn as a salary may not really see you to the gate of your workplace. So why don't we come back home, come back to the table and have a rethink on how to do these things. This is my farm to table experiment at home, where I have all my flower beds planted with vegetables that are useful at home. If you take a closer look here, we have the bitter leaf, we have the water leaf, we have the tomato, we have the pepper, we have a variety of plants. Now, a closer look at what you have here, you'll discover that these are tomato plants. For every 1 stand of tomato, you are expected to harvest 5 balls of tomato every day. That 5 balls, if you take it to the market, sells for, here in Mina, or whichever part of the country you're watching from, has different prices. The 5 balls ranges between 100 naira and 1,000 naira. Now imagine that you have 100 balls of tomato from here, divided by 5, you have 20 houses, and you have 20 separations. Multiply that by 500 naira. How much would I give you at the end of the month? I leave you with that assignment to do for me. These tomatoes, as you can see, conveniently takes care of my household for a whole week. Just one harvest. Whatever that is remaining now, friends and well-wishers come and pick. Not just their picking that entices me, it is the prayers that they give to me that entices me, because they have been able to save some amount of money. I'm talking about 20,000, which I save for my own household alone. But people that benefit from this, if we lump the whole thing together, we should be talking about 50 to 60,000 naira every month.
From small spaces to abundant harvests, urban farming is a powerful tool in these financially challenging times. Let us embrace the potential of small-scale farming and unlock a world of possibilities right in our own backyards.
I've been into this for close to 15 years. The moment I discovered that instead of wasting my water to water flowers, I could as well have vegetables to water, feed on them, and then still have fresh air coming from them. At some point in time, when we have scent leaf, we have pepper, we have the popular karkashi of Nigerians. If we need something in the market, my wife could fetch any of the plant that is readily available. We'll go to the market and exchange for the one that we desire, the one that we don't have. Ordinarily, we needed to have used money to buy.
We can change the market strategy. If my pepper here can produce for me 10 bulbs, and I have my bitter leaf, and I have my water leaf, my soup is done with a good pounded yam.
Small-scale farming is indeed an excellent way to utilize small spaces for farming and generate income, especially during financially challenging times. Whether you have a backyard, a balcony, or even just a few pots, there are several approaches you can take to maximize your yield and make the most of your space.
There's so much we can benefit from small-scale farming. That is somebody's compound. That's Professor John Musa's compound, and later we saw another doctor. So it's not as though they are unemployed. They are hardworking, they are diligent. Yeah. In fact, they are not lacking finance at this time, but they are saying this compound can do more than just house us. Let us use it to feed ourselves and help others as well. But you know, Prof, the most interesting thing that what struck me there was there's a kind of butter he brought to the table. That is, if I have tomato or if I have pepper, I can go to the market, present this to someone, and then take what they have. That's amazing. Are we there now?
That's the way to go, because you as young farmers, as people who are not into big commercial farms. So what do? You are able to concentrate in the area of your competence. You harvest watermelon, ugu, water leaf, tomatoes, okra. You take the market. People are rushing, they buy from you, and then you may want to get meat, you may want to get any other thing of fish, and then you take
to complement the soup, so that when the pounded yam is ready, you have a very rich soup. Amazing. You know, I was telling Prof earlier about our friend in Abeokuta, Samson Igbole. You know, it's when I read about him, I got to know about soilless farming. But Prof tells me that he's also into that. But let's go see Samson in Abeokuta now. Samson, are you ready to join our conversation? So, Samson, we're coming to Abeokuta now. How are you doing today?
morning.
This is Prof. John Kennedy Opara, and before we invited you to come on board, I was telling him what you do, and I got to learn that soilless farming involves hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics. Are you combining all three in Abeokuta there?
I'm focused more on hydroponics and aeroponics.
What's it been like? You've been doing this quite a while.
Yes, I started far back as 2012, and though the company is just 4 years old, I started far back 2012 while I was a youth corper with International Institute of Tropical Agriculture at Ibadan, that's IITA Ibadan.
Prof, these are the kind of young people you're talking about who get excited by feeding people. You can enter the conversation, Prof. You can talk to him. So Prof here has a mechanized farm. You know, we want to engage and enrich our conversation and knowledge. Samson, how's the journey been thus far? It's been quite a number of years. You are now an employer of labor. Tell us what it's been like.
There was an echo.
Samson. Okay, Samson, I was saying that a young man, you know, just what Prof was saying, Prof also trains young people. So it's quite exciting for him to see you, that you've been doing this quite a while, and you're an employer of labor. You are employing people and paying them wages. I said, what's it been like all these years, from when you were very young, just graduated, to where you are now? What's it been like?
It has been a long journey. It has been a long journey because coming into agriculture for someone who didn't study agric, it was a lot of trying to navigate the path to understand and a lot of talks along the way. So yeah, it's been a long journey, an interesting journey, and of course, a journey where I picked up a lot of lessons.
Tell us about the farming you're doing, soilless farming. You say you do aquaponics, hydroponics. What does it encompass?
Okay, so soilless farming is basically growing plants without soil. And the way I like to explain it for people to understand is using our cooking method. Now, for someone like myself that grew up in the village, I remember growing up, my grandparents, we used to use firewood. At some point, we moved from firewood to charcoal, then to kerosene stove, to gas cooker, then electric stove, and so on and so forth. Now, you would agree with me that what remained constant in all of this was heat. Every other thing was just a method to provide the heat. The same thing when we say soilless farming, in simple terms, is trying to provide nutrients for the plants. Provide nutrients for the plants in simple terms. So we had to understand what is the function of soil. We realized that soil has three basic functions. Number one was to anchor the roots of the plant. Number two was to provide water retention. Number three was for the aeration of the roots of the plant. Now, with that simple understanding, all we needed to do was find anything that could play the same role, that could play a similar role. And once we got that figured out, it was easy now to remove soil and replace with any other thing. Now, the proof of that is, I remember growing up, we are told that the best kind of soil for growing is loamy soil, but they didn't tell us why. Now, if you look at the characteristics or the function of soils that I gave, you realize clay soil can anchor plants. Clay soil will hold water, but it will not allow for aeration. Sandy soil cannot anchor plants, cannot hold water, allows for aeration. On the flip side, your loamy soil can perform those three functions. The method we use to grow is not weather dependent, it's not seasonal, so we are able to sell as cheap as possible. Just imagine if we had rainy season year-round, how cheap maize would be. The same way, we have our production year-round, so we can keep our price as low as possible and constant. Thank you.
That's interesting,
Yes.
Prof, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, sure.
And quite admirable.
Very, very. In fact, with the soilless, you grow seedless cucumber, you grow zucchini, you grow tomatoes, so many things. And then you are able to push this to the market. But the only thing, the challenge that most of them may have, or we usually have, is that during the rainy season, if you have much of this in the market there, selling it becomes very difficult. That's why we encourage dry season farming through irrigation. If you do all year round farming like we do in a farm, you can stop farming. Farming becomes exciting. It will not be like when is this season, the price will go up. When is when is the season out, then you start struggling with price again. So you can actually maintain the price if you are doing it over and over, except you're doing in large volume. But if it is for people who can only farm during rainy season, the price, of course, will come down. Dry season, it goes up. So what he's saying makes a lot of sense. That is true, and that's what we do.
It's good. It's good. It's admirable. Samson, are you still there?
Yes, please.
Samson, do you encounter,
Yes,
so
I am.
far, you've been in business for over a decade now. Are you training people to do what you're doing at Abuja in other states of the Federation? Because we want the good news to go nationwide.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like I said, the company is about 4 years old, and yes, I train young people. Every quarter, we bring in 1,000 young people from across the country to train them for free. We take people aged between 18 and 29 years. We bring them to the farm. We house them for free, provide stipends, and we teach them about hydroponics. They set up greenhouses, set up hydroponics. Much more than that, we also teach them the business. Because for me, like I always tell the young ones on the farm, that I would rather that they are good businessmen and bad farmers than they are good farmers and bad businessmen. So we teach them on the business of agriculture. We do that for 3 months. So this year alone, we've trained 3,000. As I speak right now, we have 1,000 young people on the farm. As a matter of fact, for this particular training that is ongoing, Niger State government sent 50 people from their state. Ekiti State sent some people. Lagos State sent some people. So we have different states also sending their indigenes to be part of the beneficiaries of our free trainings.
We want to thank you very much, Samson. My final question will be, because Prof, when he came on board our show today, he said everyone's got to have a plan. You began small, you are moving very swiftly, getting larger by the day, you are touching lives and changing the narrative in Nigeria with your space. Where do you envisage your business, agribusiness, Nigeria to be in the next 5 years, especially with regard to the soilless kind of farming that you engage in?
So yeah, the first thing I envisage is the number of farmers needs to reduce. I know a lot of people say more people should come into farming. Let's look at the developed nations. The percentage of the farmers are few because they have technology to play the role of manual labor.
Sure.
We don't need to open 100,000 more hectares. Instead, we need to maximize what is available on the lands that are already open. A simple example is, when my daddy was speaking earlier, he talked about South Africa. Nigeria average yield per hectare for tomatoes is about 5 to 10 tons.
Sure.
South Africa is about 30 tons.
Sure.
If you go to places like Canada or the UK, that's Canada, Saskatchewan, those ones do about 60 to 100 tons per the same hectare.
Yeah.
So they do not have to open more land to achieve more. but you realize that our yield is small. We need to move away from agricultural religion to agricultural science. So we need to improve our science drastically. You have a lot of farmers who are even doing basic soil farming. They do not do soil tests. So how did you choose your fertilizer? How do you know what you are providing for the land is what the land needs? You don't even know the kind of seed you are planting. How do you know the seed you are planting is the best for the environment, is the best for the soil, is going to give you the maximum yield? You see, there is science in all of these things. And the reason why our agriculture is behind is our science is backwards. You see a lot of government saying, oh, we are doing interventions and you are providing hose and cutlass. The question is, when did hose and cutlass reign? Hose and cutlass reigned when we were using feather and ink to write. So how are you going to match the productivity of 2023 with the tools of 1960? It will not work.
It will not work.
Now, I should also add that soilless farming is not a way to replace soil. It is just a way to complement soil so that we can bring farms closer to the people. We have a lot of things that are wrong that we know. We know, for example, we don't have good roads, we don't have good storage, we don't have proper market structures. But the farmers can help themselves by making their farms closer to the city with the use of technology. That is one. Number two, this is a form of farming that is attractive to the youth. You see, you cannot tell a graduate to pick up hose and cutlass. Nobody had to do any jingle to tell people to go into banking sector or oil and gas. When the guys in those sectors started making money, people called themselves into oil sector. If we are going to get youths into agriculture, the tools of the farmers must change so that they can increase their income. Let me pause at that point. So in 5 years, what do I see? A change in the status quo where those who understand business are taking the lead. Not just people who want to just maintain, and this is how we've always done it, but those who understand the business of agriculture.
Okay, amazing. It's agribusiness. We want more agripreneurs. Thank you very much, Samson Ogbole from Abeokuta. Please continue to feed the nation the best way you can in a healthy way and engage more youths in soilless farming. Thank you for coming on Weekend Deal, Samson.
Thank you very much.
Great, great. Thank you, Samson. Oh, Prof. Wasn't that quite in-depth?
Very in-depth, very interesting, because what he's saying is right. That's why in CSS we introduce digital farming. You cannot take a young man to go to the farm just the normal way of doing things. No, it's mechanized farming. You teach him the technology and he's able to assess the soil quality, the soil content, and know the right things to do. So, and that is the only way you can excite people. Actually, like I told you, the difference between us and China. China is the world's largest producer of rice. They are doing 147 million metric tons. But it's not enough to feed China their population of how many billion. But then they are still working overnight to see what they can do. Do you know China is even going into cassava? Nigeria is the world's largest producer of cassava. Nigeria is the world's largest producer of yam. What are we doing with the yam?
So we need to learn more about agri-science and do more mechanized farming. Okay, hold your thoughts there, Prof. We'll continue our conversation. A break beckons on Weekend Deal. We'll take it. We urge you, send your messages in. Let's see how we can prefer answers and solutions. Don't go away. We'll go to Makadi. You know, earlier when Francis set the tone for our discussion today, he said, agriculture, farming is part of many cultures in Nigeria. Makadi wants to tell us how.
Benue State, a rich agricultural region, is known for a lot of good things, and top amongst them is the production of bountiful food crops such as yam, rice, beans, cassava, sweet potatoes, sesame, granules, and so on. The state also accounts for over 70% of Nigeria's soybean production.
Unlike other states, all the crops that are being produced in the southern part of the country are produced here in commercial quantity. Take, for example, oil palm. You will know that cocoa is being produced in Benue. All the crops produced, mainly in the north, are produced in large quantity here in Benue. Most crops produced here are not produced in any commercial quantity anywhere.
The people of Benue who are into farming activities have struck a new gold by diversifying into livestock farming, and they've also engaged themselves in processing of some farm produce for local consumption and for exportation.
It's good to combine both crops agriculture and livestock agriculture so that there is no waste. You know, some of us combine the chicken and the piggery waste. It's combined to even add to the major ingredients of soybean and maize to produce feeds for pigs, kind of. The water from fish ponds is being used to irrigate rice farms. You can even combine rice farming with fisheries, kind of, at the same plot. And the fish will be feeding on the algae within the rice field, while the rice farmers, the rice plants will be enjoying the feces from the fish. And it's a very good agricultural practice.
Like in rice, if I should cultivate a hectare, at least with a very good management, I can get up to 3 tons. That is about 30 bags of 100 kg. Then in cowpea, if I should farm a hectare, but I don't used to farm up to a hectare. Highest, I like 0.5 hectares, 0.50 hectares. That's half a hectare. And sometimes I get up to 10 bags.
To me, I do what we call I plow back. I go back, cultivate grains, and use the grains to formulate my own feeds.
Agriculture, both crops and animal farming, will never go out of fashion because we eat to survive.
Agriculture has become a business in a very simple way. And we are hoping that is the next few years. I am talking about not 3-4 years. I'm talking the next 2 years or so. Agriculture will replace oil as a key revenue of this country, especially a state like Benue.
Like the people of Benue State, modern farming practices and enhanced livestock farming has come to stay. This will make the people self-sustaining entrepreneurs and also feed the nation.
Feeding the nation is so key. In fact, that's our focus, from the farm to the table. I read a message earlier from Moses in Taraba State. Prof, he says, if we don't go back to the farm, Nigeria will continue to import. But we heard Samson say earlier that going back to the farm is not enough. We have enough farmers. What we need is to upgrade our technology. And we know you are at the high point of mechanized farming.
That's true. You know, I want to say this without any fear of contradiction. We have no business importing any farm produce into this country. God has blessed us with wonderful land. All we need is what we call digital farming, mechanized farming, so that we can conquer food insecurity. Because presently, the things we produce, we don't even package it, we don't even process it. Ask yourself this question. Nigeria produces 76% of the total world consumption of yam. What are we doing with the yam?
Total world consumption
of yam. Nigeria is #1. What do we do with it? That's why in my farm, we process this yam into yam powder, yam flour, so you can export it, you can sell it up.
But you're exporting yet?
Yes, part of what we're doing. Because if you don't do that, you see at the end of the day, what you produce, you consume. You can't even keep it. So everything we do here, we must go into processing. And that's why today now we move from every department in the farm is a raw material to the other department, so that you can keep the process going. From the open field, when you harvest the maize, you process it into feed meal. Processing the feed meal into a feed for the fish and for the birds.
You talked about birds, aquaponics, but you hold that thought. You tell us about aquaponics because I want to understand it in detail. Perhaps, who knows, some part of agriculture will beckon to some of us. But for now, we will go to NTA Abuja. Ori and her crew have been focused on the life of the small-scale farmers.
Yes.
Do they have challenges? How well are they doing? Ori, tell us.
Agriculture is a profession that has been around since the dawn of time and continues to be one of the most productive occupations in the world. From the fertile fields to our plates, the food we eat every day is a combination of efforts, majorly by small-scale farmers and providers of nourishment that graces our tables.
I've been in farming as long as I became matured, maybe from 9 years through primary, secondary school, and there was a break when I went to higher institution, and I'm back to it again. We are doing something very differently to really empower the rural farmers. We have this approach of hearing their challenge and meeting their needs, and that has been working for us. And so we evaluate their inputs and link them to markets.
I've been in the business of farming for over 15 years consistently. One thing where I'm doing is to ensure that I maximize the land area where I cultivate my crop, effective usage of pesticides, not to overdose it. Also ensure that I maximize the rainy season by ensuring that we're able to grow at least 2 to 3 crops within the season. Currently, I'm cultivating yam, also do maize, also do groundnut, also doing cowpea, which is beans. I think most of the major staple foods are profitable crops. Beniseed, for example, has high demand, especially for export. Yam, maize, rice, and beans are major staple food that are being demanded on a daily basis within the country. Maize, for example, is demanded by major factories that produce either baby foods, produce poultry feeds, and the likes.
In the ever-evolving world of agriculture, access to loans can be a game changer.
We are faced with a lot of challenges, one of which will have to do with access to land. We know that land ownership is a very big issue. Access to funding to be able to acquire your inputs, seeds, pesticides, fertilizer. For example, this year the prices have gone so high that it has affected the quantities of fertilizers that we are using on the farm. Also, the challenge of low prices at the time of harvest when farmers are expected to sell and they discover that the prices are low and then they have no access to storage facilities. This contributes to forcing farmers to have to sell at lower prices. For me personally, I've not been able to access loan, especially from government. Being able to use personal savings to cultivate. Accessing loans have a lot of bottlenecks, bureaucracy here and there that has made it very impossible for majority of farmers to be able to access some of the available loan facilities.
We go into this farming with the mind that yes, you could make gain, you could make loss. Our company at New Aid Agri-Consult, we have a demonstration farm that we invest so that it's like a test plate for the farmers we are supporting. Before we empower them, we go to take their land sizes, evaluate what they actually require, and set up farm inspectors. We are not there yet, but from the way we are setting out to do our things, a lot of farmers are associating with us and we are counting in numbers.
Remember, that every meal is a story and every plate is a testament of their hard work, passion, and unwavering commitment to nourishing us all.
We're just back. That was NTA Abuja there. We saw an entrepreneur who is also trying to inspire and motivate young people. And talking about young people, what did you say about iPads?
You know,
you want them to Google?
Yes, if you want to get them excited in anything you want to do, you can see now young children, they no longer look up, they look down with their iPad or with their mobile phones. So in their training center, we train them, each of them graduate with a tablet. The essence of that, whatever we have taught you in the farm is loaded in that tablet. So you can put your SIM card, connect to us while you are in the farm. It's a challenge. You can get back information, and that has really helped them.
Indeed,
so many of them are doing very well.
And knowing that they have that as a backup will encourage them even to take a few risks now and then.
Yeah.
We mentioned fishing and aquaponics earlier.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Honestly, you know, aquaculture is just about using water to grow vegetables. Like in the hydroponics, that what we did was we started introducing fish in the hydroponic system. Now the fish will be feeding on the distance of the plants, and then also enriching that water, and the water become the manure for the plant to grow. We grow lettuce, we grow all kinds of vegetables in 21 days. When we harvest these vegetables from the hydroponics, they look very clean, and you can use them and very fresh. Then you transfer the water from that system into the open field to irrigate, fertilize the soil.
Amazing.
So you have.
So it's a one-stop shop.
It's a one-stop to this chain.
One part is servicing the other. It's amazing, and it takes knowledge, in-depth knowledge. You have to know what you're doing. You're watching Weekend Deal. It's from the farm to the table. A break beckons. When we come back, there's some small talk about loans for farmers, challenges, and all that. But the break is now. I want to thank you very much, Prof. John Kennedy Opara. Always a delight to learn from you. Keep enriching several conversations across different tables. And the narrative in Nigeria with regards to farming, agribusiness, agripreneuring is changing. Thank you very much. It's been exciting to have you be a part of Weekend Deal today. Agriculture, from the farm to the table. You've learned many new things, I know. Now you know it's not farming, not agriculture, it's agribusiness. God bless Nigeria. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.